Annyeong! Kamusta? Good day. My name is Kyra Balesteros. I am currently a Shivning Scholar for 2019-2020. I'm taking up MA in Publishing at the University College London, or UCL. Previous to that, I was commissioning executive with Oxford University Press in Manila. And then prior to that, I was managing editor for 5 years with Visprint Inc. So a little bit about the company that I was previously associated with, so my professional affiliations. With Oxford University Press in my previous role, we were managed out of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia through Oxford Fajar. And as business development and commissioning executive, I was tasked with conducting market research for the primary, junior high school, and senior high school textbook markets. My previous job was with Visprint, and as managing editor, I was much closer to the book, and that meant I was interested in growing our lists, in particular for literary fiction, as well as creative nonfiction, graphic novels, among others. Now I will talk a little bit about some bestsellers, not just from Visprint Inc., the company I was previously affiliated with, but in general, so that you can understand sort of the makeup of the Philippine market. So the first title that I'd like to talk about is called the Janus Silang books. So Janus Silang is a character. It's currently a YA, or a young adult fantasy series by Edgar Calabia Samar, brought to you by Adarna House. So it mixes Philippine myth and urban lore. I'd also like to talk to you about this book, Makisawsaw, published by Gantala Press, which is the feminist publisher in the Philippines. And this one has recipes as well as some essays written by food access and food justice advocates in the Philippines. It's very interesting. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the Kiko Machine books, the Kiko Machine Comics books by Manix Abrera, published by 19th Avenida Publishing House. Manix Abrera is a much beloved and very popular comic book artist, and he is incredible at using humor and comics to satirize and critique real world situations, especially now during a pandemic. In this clip, I will talk about the impact of COVID-19. I will try to set some context for you, and I will also talk about how some of the industry has been trying to respond to COVID-19. Okay, so the impact of COVID-19 on publishing. Unfortunately, the Philippines has remained under quarantine for about 6 months now. This is the longest and the strictest lockdown of its kind in the world. While COVID-19 cases top 200,000, the Philippine government has repeatedly failed to provide adequate testing, contact tracing, and help to its medical frontliners. Further damages to the economy are expected after the announcement of a 45% adult unemployment rate as of August 2020. So we expect even worse. For publishing, this means that Filipino readers, consumers, are going to be more motivated to buy their basic needs. And unfortunately, books have historically not been part of this roster of needs. So for commercial publishers and book distributors, simply the challenge is to survive. The challenge is to retain as many of the employees as possible to keep their jobs, as well as to recover the cost of print book production. This will be a different story for textbook publishers, as the new academic year was delayed twice over. Textbook publishers have to cope with an internet-based academic year. So because students are asked to stay home, their needs and the needs of their teachers in terms of educational and learning materials will change, and textbook publishers are responding. It's just a matter of how. In terms of impact and the response of publishers to COVID-19, for most publishers in the Philippines, and like most businesses actually in the Philippines, most of these publishers are micro, small, and medium, or MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises. So that means it's much leaner than bigger corporations. They're more agile to responding to different situations, which is a great thing to have in a pandemic. They are relatively younger, and that means that, relatively speaking, publishers are a little bit more adept with digital-first marketing and digital technologies in particular. And it also means that because of their size, they're much closer to their readers or their audience base. And again, all of these things are going to work in the favor of publishers who are operating or continuing to operate within a pandemic. It also means that working from home, publishers begin to market more aggressively online. And there are new marketing initiatives in place to help publishers sort of navigate digital marketing. Most recently, the Book Development Association of the Philippines spearheaded the first digital book fair called Aklatan. So it's the first all-Filipino book fair. Other publishers and distributors are following suit as well. So Adarna House is hosting a warehouse sale, while National Bookstore is having a sulit sale. And all of these book events are taking place online. There are also independent efforts to strategize and compile sales online via marketplaces, including and specifically Shopee, Lazada, Instagram, and Facebook. So social media plays a very big role in helping smaller independent publishers become more visible. So recently, smaller publishers formed the Independent Publishers Collab, or Indie Pub Collab, which is a bid at cross-promoting so that they are more visible against brands that are more familiar with Filipino book consumers. Okay, so the marketing initiatives online make books more accessible, and we're learning that as books are more accessible, Filipinos are motivated by freebies, including free delivery, book bundles, and massive discounts. So all of these have been successful in drawing attention as well as interest in books despite the pandemic. Okay. So perspectives on publishing business after COVID-19. There's been a greater focus on marketing online. So the Indie Pub Collab is indicative of the trend and is proof that certain spaces can truly act as a democratizing medium for commercial publishing and the bigger players. So the independent publishers can recognize their relationships with consumers and readers and act on this relationship more directly. And they can recognize that this relationship is valuable, and then they can use this insight to create more books that serve their readers' interests. And you can't do this if you grow to be a little bit bigger than an independent publisher. Digital book fairs is also, I think, something that will be here to stay, especially because the Philippines is, geographically speaking, an archipelago. So digital book fairs, in particular the Manila International Book Fair, or the MIBF, has been announced as going completely and purely digital in November. So this means that you can sort of circumvent certain geographic challenges by going online. Okay. In terms of strengthening consumer behavior online as well, because this is the next step of that problem, it's been the prerogative of Shopee and Lazada to provide innovative solutions to make consumers feel more comfortable shopping online and making more online purchases. The anxiety that Filipinos have in this regard is that their payments will get lost, or the quality of the products won't be as they see online. That's the heart of the anxiety there. But these two marketing platforms have been successful because there are many ways to process payments, including cash on delivery. So given these options for Filipinos, it becomes a little bit more trustworthy and a little bit safer to shop online. And this goes for books as well. So in terms of a case study, so building on this community and as well as innovative use of technologies, I'll cite Savage Mind bookstore. Savage Mind is located in the Bicol region, specifically in Naga City, outside of the National Capital Region. So they specialize specifically in Bicolano literature, so the regional center. Savage Mind Bookshop is the only distributor among everyone that we talked about to continue distributing books, selling books, even during extended community quarantine. So they never stopped. They were able to do this by recognizing the locally available distribution methods available to them. Talking about Community Mart, which is a local community app based in Naga City, where residents can purchase market items, grocery items, wet market items. And Savage Mind was able to capitalize on this infrastructure that existed outside of publishing and outside of books, but already within their local landscape. And they also recognize that this closeness to their consumer is a good thing, because it helps the consumer get to know them and to trust them for further or succeeding sales. So Savage Mind is, again, a smaller business. It's an independent bookshop, which means that they have fewer staff members. And so the leanness plays in their favor because they're able to talk directly, again, to their consumer, to their reader. They also enjoy this cozy relationship with their community and are able to strengthen their ties, again, by going back into that regional aspect, by promoting Bicolano literature in particular. They do this as well online via online marketing and online distribution. They started an online reading series called Himati, where for example, local or even national personalities read examples of Bicolano literature, and this has been incredibly successful for them. So I am eternally grateful for the Korean Publishers Association for this opportunity. I'm very lucky to be able to have this platform and to have this time with you and to tell you a little bit more about what is going on in the Philippines. I understand that your time is precious, and I understand that it takes a lot to be here, so I'm grateful for your attention. I look forward to more cooperation and more projects among publishers from East Asia, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. I hope that we are able to mutually establish this network and to make it rich with productive cooperation. And I hope that this mutual understanding will help us better understand our own needs and will give us ideas to innovate both at home and abroad. I hope that we approach what separates us with clarity and yet more kindness, so that we can overcome these divisions and so that we can learn from each other and learn with each other. There's so much I don't know yet about our region and about Asian publishing in particular, and I hope that I have contributed a little bit more to this knowledge. Paalam at maraming salamat po. Goodbye, and thank you very, very much.